Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Chinese tier 9 medium tank, the WZ-120. It's a tank that you don't see that often, and that's because, well, it had problems. And that was the fact that if you used the big gun, it had no gun depression. It was a real big problem, and it definitely really was the main drawback of the tank, because it did have another usable gun, which is still probably one of the better guns to use, I'd say, but it just doesn't. It just feels like a worse T-54 at that point, and that is the 100mm gun. It is just a worse T-54 at the point that you use the 100mm gun, and it kind of feels just that little bit disappointing, because you could just be, like, playing the T-54 instead. But the draw of this tank was the fact that it had a big 122mm gun, which is a massive caliber of gun for a medium tank at the tier. It's great. I love using it, but the problem is, it was hard to use it, and it made it just unfun, because, well, you had to try and use it, you know. Pain. 3 degrees of gun depression was pain. But they did buff it. So, what did they buff? Well, they buffed the top 100... Well, they buffed all the guns, really. But they buffed the top 100mm to have better accuracy, slightly better DPM, and 7 degrees of gun depression over the side, as well as having the 5 degrees over the front. And on the 122mm gun, they buffed the aim time to 2.7, which is great. They buffed the reload to 11.7, which is only 0.3 off, which, you know, is not too significant, but it's nice. The turret accuracy dispersion penalties got buffed from 0.16 to 0.12. And then the gun depression went from 0.3, well, 0.3, from 3 degrees to 5 degrees over the side. Caveat. So the gun became way more usable on the 122. It meant that you can aim in quicker. You have better dispersion while turning the turret, and shots like you've just seen on the M53-55 there would have been a hell of a lot less possible pre-buff for the WZ-120. It's just this gun became so much more usable, and as you've seen, you've just got to adapt to the sort of play style of the tank, and it's the same you'll have with the 121 and the 121B with their gun depression over the side. You just got to get used to coming over ridge lines and making sure that you're side on to get the gun down, essentially. As you're seeing right here, as soon as I turn the gun and it gets anywhere near the front drive wheel, there is no hope of getting this gun down. But if I turn to the side, I get the 5 degrees of gun depression, and 5 degrees of gun depression is perfectly usable for a tank like this. It's low to the ground, it's got good camo. 5 degrees of gun depression is fine. Would be nice if I had more, but it is what it is. So, in terms of recruit, what do I run on the WZ-120? Well, on the WZ-120, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Trap Mechanic, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Camouflage Expertise. I run all of the gun perks because still, the gun can be a little bit derpy here and there, so all the help we can get is always great. And I run the camo perk because actually it does have good camo for this type of tank. So, you can use that to great effect. Brilliant, fantastic, it's what you want to do. In terms of equipment, I run rammer, vert stabs, and optics as well. Vert stabs, obviously, because you just want to make everything better and all that sort of stuff. So, in this game, on steps, we've managed to accumulate 2.7k damage, 286 assistance. We got a big, juicy HE round into the FV4005, and we still had the HE round loaded for the 4005. But fortunately enough, we just aimed high on that UDES, and I knew that because he's got no armour, that the HE round could more than likely pen if I avoided the spaced armour. So it wasn't a case of, oh, I may as well not shoot at that because I've got HE in. It's just aim high, aim for the weakest part, hope for the best. And it went in and we rolled for like 500 or something because the HE rounds are pure juice. So I knew this M46 pattern was here, and I left him to it, because I didn't want to push this M46 pattern and then have an FV4005 turn around and go, oh, hello, friend. All hit points gone. The best thing for me to do there was sit back, be able to try and get rid of the 4005 so that the danger to me and the waffle that was behind me was gone. Unfortunately, the M46 pattern did manage to farm most of my team that was going after that 4005. But it is what it is. No one, they could have stayed safe from the 4005 and quite happily shot this M46 pattern, but no one did. But now we're going to try and help our waffle out, get rid of the M46 pattern, which we do. He's gone, we're up to 4.2k damage, and now there's this pesky little UDES that is over here. And we want to get rid of this pesky little UDES because, well, he's pesky and he's a UDES, and we want to get rid of him, right? So, we're going to go after him. I've got hit points, right? I've got the HP. I know that I can take a hit from this man. I don't care. I'm just going to go balls to the walls. We're going to go chasing straight in. We get a nice shot on the move for 512, which is pretty pretty damn decent roll. And then I have no idea what he was doing, but he tried to pull back, and we got a shot straight in to finish him off. Now, we know there was one in our cap, and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to go straight across the open field because that would be silly. If I go across the open field and they've got someone at, like, E7, I get caught out in the open, they can possibly see me from the cap. It's not going to end well. I'm going to get shut down. We don't want that. So, we've taken a bit of a wider route round, and we've gone just a little bit safer. And the plan is now to get towards the cap as quickly as possible, because obviously they've got one in there. We don't want 3 in there because that would be bad. And I know that from over here on steps, from the J5 area, I can get shots into our cap, I can spot it, and I can stay safe behind the little ridge line. It's going to go well if I spot them, and that's the plan. So hopefully I'll be able to spot them as I go around this corner. We've got this bush for cover, but it's also going to help in keeping them concealed. And there we do. There we go. We spot the Object 140 in the cap. We get a nice shot straight through. We're just going to pull out, make sure that we're getting this shot perfectly into the 140, and he's gone. There's 2 heavy tanks left for up to 5.5k damage, 286 assistance, which is really nice. And it's like, okay, I just got detected there as I pulled out and pull back just in time as we ricochet a shot off the upper plate, which doesn't happen often because the upper plate isn't the best. And I was going to go towards our cap, but the IS-4 ends up getting spotted, and it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to, you know, turn that opportunity down. We'd load the heat rounds because with our AP round, it's going to be really awkward, especially at the angle he's at, to be able to pen the IS-4. So we get a nice shot through his lower plate with the heat. And even with his heat, we don't really have to go through his lower plate. I know I can take the hit. I probably shouldn't have done it, but I just did it just to make sure that I was going to shut down the IS-4 and take the hit. I was kind of hoping that the IS-4 would stop, and therefore I'd be like, oh, he stopped perfectly. He takes the shot, hits me, and then he's in the open for me to shut down, right? But he didn't do it. Right there, I was going for the HE reload because I thought, well, this Conqueror thinks he's hulled down. With HE, I'll probably be able to take, you know, I'll either kill him or possibly take him down to a one-shot with HE again. But I actually don't have any HE left, so that's kind of awkward. But, again, I've got the hit points. This guy's low health. It's like, you can shoot me, I'm killing you. Goodbye, Mr. Conqueror. And we shut down the Conqueror and finished the game with a pretty nice total for the WZ-120. So we finished with the victory. We finished top on our team. 6 kills, 6.5k damage, 286 assistance, ace tanker, high caliber, top gun, 2.2k base. And like I say, the 2.2k base? 2023 base XP, not 2.2. 6 kills as well, which is really nice. And the WZ-120 is just so much more usable now. Would I say it's the best tier 9 medium? Hell no. Is it even in the mediocre range? Probably. It's probably mediocre to good. But the thing is, it's still a bit of a pain with that 3 degrees of gun depression. And if you do use the 100mm, it's still a worse T54, especially after the buffs to the T54. The 3 degrees of gun depression over the front is just pure pain. But the thing is, it's not like it was before, where it's not even like it's... Well, it's just bad because it's unusable, because the 3 degrees of gun depression was just disgusting. At least you can now turn sideways on and actually use the gun by getting the gun down with the 5 degrees. Because the problem with 3 degrees on this tank was you just barely ever got the gun down on target. You'd see a tank and go, I can shoot it. Oh, no, I can't. The gun's... I've hit a small little bump in the ridge line, and that's it. Game over. My gun is not on target anymore. 5 degrees gun depression means that it's perfectly usable. And to be fair, if you use the 100mm as well, obviously you've got decent DPM. And on top of that, you've got 5 degrees of gun depression or 7 over the side, which is fantastically good for this type of tank. It's a shame that it couldn't get over the front as well. It's a shame that it couldn't have 5 degrees all round with 122. But we'll take what we can get, right? It's better than what it was. So we're on Vineyards. Me and Randy have come round this K line. I've got a nice shot into the bat chat. And it's like, hello, Mr. Bat Chat, just let me get another one in. There we go. Thank you very much for the free 871 damage. Never took a shot in return, which is great. Just going to poke around this corner, see if we can spot anything around here. It's actually a 60 TP. We get a nice shot into his side turret. 60 TP is a little bit awkward, though, but he takes a big slap from, I think it's Rossi at the back. He takes another slap from the other guy, and we slap a shot straight through his lower plate and shut down the tier 10 Polish heavy tank, which is great. 1,700 damage, 1,732 assistance. We're on to a very, very good start. And that's always that was always the nice thing about Vineyards when you came to that position that we were just in. If you spotted stuff and you actually had competent shooters at the back at J8, you were getting damage, and that was great. So we get a nice shot there on the move into the back chat, which actually tracks him in place, I think, which is great. There's a mouse over there, and it's like, okay, not dealing with that mouse. Nope, no siree, not doing that. There's a tortoise over here. I want to farm the poor tortoise because, well, it's a tortoise and it's got a giant weak spot. The problem is that giant weak spot on the tortoise is not the weakest anymore, but since it got buffed, it can be a royal pain to pen now, the tortoise. As you see, we've got only an orange pen marker on that cupola. I mean, we'll go through it that time, but the amount of times that you actually bounce when you probably shouldn't is crazy these days. So I'm looking where I can shoot it again. We go straight through his cupola again, which is great. Well, it's not really cupola, it's machine gun port. And it's like, is he ever going to look at me? Oh, he's finally looked at me. As soon as he looked at me, I was like, nope, not doing that, Mr. Tortoise. Pull back behind the corner. We are side-scraping here to make sure that our armour could work possibly. Get another shot straight through his machine gun port again. We're ripping this poor tortoise apart. The amount of times I can say that you take on tortoises and you bounce is crazy, but today it's going well. This mouse isn't concentrating on us, and we've got friends, we've got people pushing in. It's like, okay, Mr. Mouse, we're coming to hug you in the side right now, and I'm just going to use my pretty damn good DPM on this tank to good effect. Then the IS-7 comes in and rams him, and it's like, was that a good idea, Mr. IS-7? Rammed him for like 236 and lost 800 of his own hit points. I don't think that was a good idea. I don't think that worked out quite as he planned. Oh well. We managed to shut down the mouse. That mouse was going to struggle with us by his side because of how tall he is and gun depression and that, and how low to the ground the WZ-120 is. That guy was going to struggle with us. So that little play there was perfect for that kind of tank. Because if I kept wiggling, he was going to struggle. Now, we make a fairly aggressive play to come up on top of this ridge line to try and spot them on that campy ridge and just push up under their guns. Fortunately enough, we didn't take too many hits and we managed to get a nice shot into one of their tanks in return. Unfortunately, that shot goes somewhere on the mouse gen. I mean, it wasn't very well aimed, but the tank was mostly in the reticle. I'm quite surprised it didn't hit him. But it is what it is. We do get the spotting for him. We're up to 5.8k damage with 2.4k spotting. And I'm just trying to get into position to possibly shoot the guys on a 5.6. But I'm like, okay, well, from here I can see them, but I'm also very, very vulnerable to them. That K91 gets a big shot into us, and that 268 version 5 is actually coming. It's like, no, we need to pull back, Randy. Don't want to take that big hit. Because obviously he's got 850 alpha. With me, 714 hit points now. I'd have been dead to that guy. We don't want that. We end up being detected as we pull around the corner. It's like, that's got to be the chieftain or whatever else was on that little hill. I don't want to take that hit. But I just tried to spot them one last time. I pulled back up on top of the ridgeline to see if I could use my view range, but they don't get spotted. They're in our cap, or they were in our cap, and me and Randy are like, okay, it's pointless pushing this position because they seem to have shots on us. We can't spot them, but they can spot us. We don't want to push that. Let's change the position. Let's go back and defend the cap because, quite frankly, quite worried that they are going to cap, and we don't want that. So we're all rushing back. Obviously, he's in the Lorraine 40T. The Lorraine 40T is far quicker than the WZ-120. But in reality, the switch back, the reflank, the change up is going to help us a tremendous amount because we're actually going to have more shots now at these guys. Unfortunately, that shot at the K91 just misses it somehow, some way. That's the accuracy of the gun sometimes that lets you down. Unfortunately, missed that K91. Here we're coming over the ridgeline. It's right, okay, we've got to be side on to be able to get the shot in. He's dipped low, slapped the big shot into his side, which makes him a one-shot, which is great. The more tanks we can put on one-shots is fantastic. That 268 version 5 is over there, and I'm thinking, has he pulled back into position I can get a shot on his rear? Unfortunately, we hit the ridgeline, but he hadn't actually pulled back anyway. And it's like, okay, I'm going to pull back on top of this, I'm going to pull up on top of this ridgeline, sorry, to see if I can get a shot. And luckily, we are just manoeuvring ourselves so we could see the top of his tank, but it bounced. This Panzerwagen is in front of us, is trying to keep us all lit so that his friends at the back can shoot us and spot us. Well, shoot us, which is not what we want. So getting rid of that guy would be quite nice. These ridge lines are going to be a little bit awkward for our 3 degrees over the front, 5 degrees over the side. As you see, when I'm pulling up to take shots, I'm instantly turning to go at an angle for these guys. We get a big shot through the side of the chieftain there, or through the lower plate, actually, I think. And he's like, okay, I'm out of this position. The Super Conqueror gets shut down. Now they are all trapped in a tiny little corner, which is great for us. The K91 pulls out. We slap a big shot into his side, shut him down. We're up to 7k damage. And these guys are all closed into the corner. We want to go after them, and that's what we're going to do. This T95E6 is our next priority. He is the man that we are going to shoot. Probably could get a shot at this heavy tank, but I know I've got the HP, sorry. Fortunately enough, he bounces. And the reason I've gone so aggressively into him is because at the end of the day, you don't need the hit points in the next game. And I was quite happy to just go, yeah, you can shoot me once. You might get to shoot me twice, but I might get to shoot you once or twice. I'll take the risk for the damage. And we finished the game with the victory. 4 kills, 7.9k damage, which is a great game for a tier 9. 3.3k assists, 11k combined. Ace Tanker, the high caliber. 2.5k base XP, and a really nice top 3 for the platoon. Really great game for the WZ-120. It's a pretty damn decent tank now. You just got to work round that awkward gun depression. And if you don't like the awkward gun depression on the 122, you can just use the 100mm. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!